on kind of watching the matches, but these guys, they know them in and out, and honestly, they can't reveal everything, but they did agree with the consensus that H2K really mind-gamed this draft, and then Splyce kind of screwed up, especially with the Shen pick, and that's what showed as well. It was the power point going through was Odoamne in the top lane, assisted by Jankos.
And now interesting to see how the pick ban will develop, because Splyce has chosen blue side this time around. You can see the flexibility they've been given. Zyra, Syndra taken off the board.
All right, so a Zyra first ban on the side of Splyce means they're probably not putting too much priority on kind of winning bot lane. They'll take whatever matchup they end up getting and hope for it to be favorable. They're looking for a power pick in some other lane right now. So there is LeBlanc, Rengar banned out. H2K likely gonna fill that up with Camille. Maybe it'll be a Ryze first pick then for Splyce.
A lot of opportunities available. A lot of powerful picks right now in the current meta, but really the only crazy S tier picks have already been taken away by H2K. The last one truly remaining is that Camille. We did see Fiora come out as a potential counter yesterday, but some small execution errors. This is actually very interesting.
It's a
Lulu
Malzahar.
ban.
It's a Malzahar kind of reveal. So it forces H2K to at least pick their support early in the first 3 picks, because otherwise Splyce can just kind of late pick Malz and then double ban supports like the MF and the Karma. Maybe not even the Karma. Karma's fine, but you definitely want to get rid of Misfortune if you're playing Malzahar. Let's not get into that right now. This should be a Ryze or lock-in, or the Malzahar flex for Splyce, because historically in this matchup, we've seen it mid.
Sencux has won a lot over the last season when Malzahar first came out, when he was that raw powerhouse. Now his laning phase has been hit a little bit, but he's still that, you know, ever-present threat, the guaranteed lockdown coming in from that ultimate. Pretty powerful overall.
Definitely would consider picking... I mean, it's hard. Do you want to pick Misfortune support here if you're H2K? What they're thinking about right now is, do they pick Ryze and just take the matchup in the mid lane? Do they take Misfortune, or is Splyce going to steal it away? And what matchup will they play then?
And of course, you have to consider the Tahm Kench as well, brought out to counteract the CC provided by the Malzahar, but essentially giving up the early laning phase with the melee pick.
Splyce obviously going to leave that flex up until the last rotation, not showing whether it's going mid or support. That obviously means they have to reveal 2 other roles. Likely going to be an early AD carry pickup from Splyce in first rotation. I wouldn't be surprised H2K to pick something like Kha'Zix and then whatever AD they prefer on this first rotation. Yeah.
Krepo.
I mean, it's not that hard to figure it out sometimes.
Got the Ashe, got the Kha'Zix.
I was going to say Ashe, but then I was like, if I'm wrong, let's just say AD carry.
Oh, there you go. Well, Ashe is going to be locked in. Varus, Jhin. We heard Sivir potentially a counter pick to the Jhin, but not going to see it this time around. The AD carry meta remains relatively the same overall, but Kha'Zix coming in as a jungler, we expect a lot from this.
Yeah, AD carry match and jungle match is something you could do here. Trashy hasn't always had the super deep jungle pool, so I think they're going to reveal both here. Make sure that they have a comfortable jungler into the Kha'Zix. They do pick the ivern. There's one lone fan in the crowd who goes like, yes!
I'm a fan too. I love ivern. I'm actually really excited to see exactly what's going to happen with this ivern. We got to see Unicorns of Love bring it out the other day against the Rengar. So similar effect here against the Kha'Zix. Obviously not quite as much upfront damage as the powerhouse that is Rengar, but still a lot of power present in that.
And this is where it gets hard for H2K. They don't know whether they're going to get double ban mid or double ban bot, because that's the power of a flex pick. Not only you can reveal it after the first rotation, and then you double ban the role that you're going to put this champ in, and then you have the counters ready, and you can maybe find a good matchup here. So H2K can end up playing against a Malzahar support, but maybe Tahm Kench and Misfortune banned out, and suddenly they have to play Karma into it, which is pretty rough into Jhin Malzahar.
And honestly, it's just terrifying playing the new pick and ban when you're on blue side, because first phase feels like you're in control. You get to ban away what you want, you get to pick what you want first, but you enter this second phase, the second set of bans, and it's H2K in the driver's seat. They started by taking away Jace, and they will get first pick in the second set of pick rotations.
Splyce, an avenue they could explore here is a Ryze ban. Even though I think the matchup is good for Malzahar, but just a strong mid lane current meta pick, and that's why they're just taking it off the board. They don't want to deal with it, don't give it to Febiven. Febiven banned out his own Jace from last game, so it does look that Splyce is looking to ban out mids, maybe get a comfort pick mid, but they could still flex this Malzahar to the bottom lane.
Rumble pretty much committed to top lane since we have seen the jungle pick coming in for Jankos. Kha'Zix now in his hands. Not quite the playmaker we know him to pick up, but some raw power in the hands of that pick.
Yeah, so 2 matchups that are still fine to play into Malzahar is a Tahm Kench and a Misfortune support, but if Chei doesn't play either of them or only plays one, all that Splyce need to do right now is just ban the one they hate the most, which could be like the Misfortune one here, force him into TK, but then at least they're playing Tahm Kench on a lane that is perma pushed in. That could still be favorable for Splyce from a map point of view, especially if they then get a pushing mid laner somehow.
Very terrifying, because you're at the point where you need some lane to be winning, so Kha'Zix can come in, so Kha'Zix can pick up these reliable kills, use the utility of the Ashe, get that pick snowballing, but you pick Tahm Kench, you're pretty much set to lose in the early game, and it has to be frustrating on the side of Splyce to really try to figure out what the best avenue of approach is.
It is the misfortune taken off the board. The flex goes even deeper because if H2K don't pick up Tahm Kench immediately right here, Splyce could steal it away. Tahm Kench is a super strong pick against AShe from a composition point of view because you're basically forcing the AShe to hit the Tahm Kench with arrow. Otherwise, he's just going to devour whatever targets hit.
And once again, that is the power of the flex pick. H2K kind of pigeonholed into picking it up. No choices left. Now we're just waiting to see what Febiven will bring out in the mid lane.
Yeah, so this is double-edged sword. They do get a good lane counter pick if Malzahar goes bot, but maybe Splyce, they just turn it all upside down and said, ha, joke's on you. This Malzahar was going mid all the time. Like, we're just narrating some of the potential angles and avenues that these teams are exploring right here in Champs League, and they're doing this under pressure with only 30 seconds to decide.
Oh, okay, people cheer for kled, but not ivern. Good to know, good to know. Oh, okay. Oh, yes. Oh. All right, I've been waiting to cast Katarin since she got reworked outside of All-Stars, of course, and I am ready to see Sencux go hand. This feels like Unicorns of Love yesterday, where they brought out something completely new. But I understood the comp yesterday. This is insane to me,
I
Krepo.
feel really guilty for not like getting excited, but I just always want to see what the next pick is. Like, how is this going to influence it? We only have 30 seconds right here, so it's really hard for these teams to figure it out. So it's the kled versus Rumble matchup top, incredibly swingy. It is the blind pick Katarin mid, which has been proven in competitive play that it's really hard to pick. But if you're ever going to pick Kat, pick her late, so you know there's not much guaranteed CC to stop you. The Miasma is going to be the key controlling spell in this matchup here, so the onus to outplay is onto Febiven.
A lot of pressure on him. He had a fantastic game last time around. He really benefited from a lot of the early pressure the rest of his teammates put down. This time around, he may have to carve out an advantage for himself because if Katarin gets ahead, it is all over for H2K.
But I'm happy we finally get to see Malzahar support because that means my suffering of over 50 games of him in Diamond 1 is actually going to come to like any fruition. I've been like maybe like 50% win rate, so net neutral.
That's what you get for playing and studying.
It's a fascinating support. I really like how he came on the field. We'll get into it later.
You're such a support player. There's an ivern and a Katarin and a kled, and you're like, ooh, Malzahar support.
Do you have a moment to talk about our Lord and Savior Malzahar support? Are you tired of having AD carries that are useless? Do you want a champion where you press 2 buttons and you can one-shot any champion on the Rift? Well, then Malzahar is the support for you.
And the support for Mikyx, as it turns out. Head on over to Twitter, hashtag SPYWin, if you think you can bring it back. Take this to a 3-game series, or hashtag H2KWin, if you think they can out-execute once again to bring this one home.
Do you know how many LCS players I've killed by pressing 3 buttons and have them tilt? That is the beauty of Malzahar support. You don't have to be good at the game. You just play WWER and you win. And then you write in all chat, like, I am a high IQ player.
All right, Krepo.
Enough of that.
Enough about solo queue because it's time for some competitive League of Legends. It's time for H2K versus Splyce Game 2. Let's get on to the Rift.
There's so much to talk about right now, but let's look at what's relevant in the early game. Let's look at this ivern. Ivern is a jungle that is super important pathing-wise. So what's really important is that you get information of the enemy jungler. So we're likely going to see Splyce try and find a deep ward somewhere so they know roughly where Jankos start and how to best cheese him.
Of course, we did see ivern coming out once before in the hands of the Unicorns of Love. Sursa with some very solid pathing overall. Level advantages coming out in the early game for him, exploiting the power of this pick. We don't know what to expect from Trashy. We don't know what to expect from Jankos either. It's such a intense matchup.
Yeah, Deficio went over it a little bit in his cast, but the basic premise of ivern is that you go into your jungle, you start the kind of enchantment on your camps, 1 or 2 camps, and then you walk over into the enemy jungle and you insta-smite steal the enemy's buff, kind of while he's doing it, and then you walk away because you're ivern, that's why.
Well, if you're wondering why we're spectating him, it's because he's ivern, that's why.
Stamping is so silly.
Talking to Pulse, of course, before he departed to LPL, he's like, I hate this champion. It's just too trolly.
Oh, I love ivern. I love his kit, I love the snare, I hate playing against him. The brushes are fantastic for Baron and Dragon, but that's more for later in the game. So far, it looks like Jankos is warding one side of his jungle and starting on the other. He saw ivern late enough that he knows the left side of the map is conceded. So Jankos is probably going to do blue into red. Now Trashy, the conventional path here for ivern players would be double camp into enemy red buff. But the next layer of that play is knowing that your opponent knows that, so he's going to go to your red buff. So you just go straight down to your red buff right now and you try and contest him on it.
2 minutes in, the lanes have begun and the chess game has already started for both sides.
Yeah. And Jankos could take that level one more deeper and be like, you know what, I'm just going to clear here and pray that you haven't taken my red buff. And that's what he's doing. So this is a good start from Jankos overall, because he doesn't lose any camps to the ivern, and he's still clearing at optimal speed.
Definitely wants a little more. We turn our attention briefly bot lane, but not going to be too impactful. Waiting for the level 2 to come out for that Malzahar.
Yeah.
See just how much damage he can put down.
So there's the push early. Obviously, Tahm Kench will get pushed in. If you're unfamiliar on Malzahar support, it's all centered around the Voidlings. It seems like a poke support with Q and E, but you max W actually, and your first spike is on level 2, where you can then charge up and hopefully store 2 Voidlings. You spawn them, you press E on a target, and they kind of run at them like frenzied hounds and chop away. The beauty is that obviously Tahm Kench can devour, but the problem is when Tahm Kench devours, as far as I know, he steals the debuffs from the target, which means the Malefic Vision is actually bounced on the Tahm Kench, and he now becomes the target of the Voidlings.
It's a tough spot to be, of course, once the Malefic Visions lands. 100% bonus movement speed for the Voidlings. Impossible to get away from them.
Yeah, it's possible. You can walk, but you lose CS. So you basically use it as a zoning tool.
Very strong overall so far. A very calm, very patient early game. You can see ivern taking the safe clear. So Jankos coming out on top in terms of the overall mind game.
Yeah, ivern has a super fast early clear because he can prep half a jungle, go to the one instant smite. Trashy really spaced out these double smites to get a super fast early clear, but Jankos has an efficient clear of himself, and he ends on the top side of the map, which means he can assist Odoamne in terms of pressure, and that was the swinging matchup last game as well. Odoamne comfortable pushing and getting first base, and that was kind of the foundation of H2K's victory in game 1.
And no longer is it the Shen where you have the reliable global to make impact across the map. It's the Kled, an incredibly snowball champion. If he finds a lead, he can dominate a game. As we see Tahm Kench pull out there with the Devour in the bottom lane, and we just have to wonder how Wunder is going to respond to this, because Jankos is here. Jankos is ready. Bear trap on a rope goes in. Odo potentially in trouble, but Jankos is on the way. Wunder may have overstepped. He's dismounted. Pocket pistol not going to take him to safety. First blood for the First Blood King.
Jankos has a way of reading the game so much better than all these junglers here. He is topside when he needs to be. It's like a wizard. He arrives precisely and exactly when he means to. Trashy still power jungling through and stealing some camp, but Jankos doesn't care. He now snowballed his jungler, his top laner rather, and he honestly stays relevant in the game. And he did not lose too many camps early on to this ivern, so far success for Jankos.
And it's his third First Blood of the year. He's played 4 games. 3 out of 4 so far, not a bad record to have.
And yeah, it really matters where you end up at the end of your jungle clear. That's where you need to cater your clearing path around if you're a jungler. Which lane will I end my clear on? And Trashy ends up on the bottom side with a pushed-in Malzahar and Jhin that can never dive at Tahm Kench. So essentially, he is useless on that bot side. Unless he's going to counter-gank Jankos, he can't really achieve much other than stealing 1 Gromp away. Jankos ended his path on top side, and then went for creative pathing to gank using the plants and the jumps there, and he gets his top laner ahead. So honestly, point to Jankos.
Absolutely. Now Trashy, we wondered where he would end up in his clear. He had a small level advantage, but that window has closed as Jankos evens it up. He does move into the jungle, and now you talked about sight stones, you talked about wards being limited. Trashy mitigating it this time around.
Yeah, he's playing for full utility, especially because while his first clear is good, or like really good on ivern, there's a bit of a lull in his clearing, especially when the jungle spawns again, because he can't prep those camps on the other side because they're down. So he needs to wait for them to spawn, then he needs to prep them, then he goes to clear them all out. So ivern kind of jungles in bursts, which means in between those 2 bursts, he needs to find a way to gank, because he stays full HP anyways.
Well, we won't find a way to gank quite yet, but he does lay down the vision. They will have knowledge of Jankos, maybe hoping to mitigate the impact of that Kha'Zix, because he picked up the challenging smite, he's picked up the long swords, and it's looking good.
Yeah, so what he lacks in dueling prowess, he now makes up in vision. And we need to see if he can somehow stop this from happening again. Odoamne in game 1 ended super strong. He had more jungle participation from his jungler Jankos, and that led to a massive 20 CS deficit at 10 minutes.
With the damage he put out as well, it's very clear. Rumble not always the champion you expect to hard carry a game, but it's very clear that in the hands of Odoamne, if you give him this opportunity, if you give him this chance, this lead that he already has, things are nigh impossible to come back against. And this feels almost identical to last game in so many ways. Bot lane, the one brief hope coming in for the side of Splyce, but the rest of the map not doing at all what they needed to.
Yeah, Jankos looking for a Kha'Zix main. Sencux goes in, gets stunned.
Nice placement on the ultimate there. Miasma, he's not going to be able to make it out. Trashy wants to go to the party, but it's too little too yay. Jankos moving forward, Trashy running back.
And you can see Febiven leans to the left side. Guess where Jankos is? He's been on top side the entire time. The only part of the map, or the game rather, where Jankos has played bot side was this first 2 camps. He's consistently been in the top side of the map. There was a side stone on the side of Splyce. They knew Jankos was on the top side of the map. Yet still they forced the play, jumping in first without ivern being there on time, and they made themselves susceptible to a counter gank. And now Jankos reaps the benefits. He knows where ivern is, which means he can steal the buff. And now if the map is divided left to right as opposed to top to bottom, H2K is really reaping the fruits of their labor.
And this is one of the most frustrating things you have to imagine for the side of Splyce, because if we stick with the chess metaphor, there are brief moments. We'll watch the replay before
yeah, so Sencux jumps in. He knows ivern's coming. 2v1, this is a sure kill. But you can't do that. There's a pink ward in that brush, you know it. There's another control ward in river. Everything is controlled on the top side from H2K, so you need to make sure that when you go in, you know exactly where Jankos is. Kha'Zix loves nothing more than to counter him.
Oh, Sencux moving forward. Jankos maybe looking for the out duel. Flashes forward. Does have the empowered Q. Can just reset it. Sencux.
Yep, invisibility really strong, and Mikyx and Kobbe, they're waiting for the power spike. Chei and Nuclear, all they have to do is survive.
Odoamne moving forward. Wunder trying to lock him up. Bear trap on a rope, gonna move forward. Daisy's on the way in. One shot, gonna give him the cupcake. Will he get knocked up? But here comes Jankos turning around, looking to burn him down. Tree not gonna fall for it quite yet. Daisy more than happy to deliver a sweet treat here, but Febi goes in, knocks him back. Jankos jumps forward. He is fearless. The bush is there to set it up. But Trashy gonna flash it out.
That was a really good prediction on the miasma from Febiven. So when he cast it, nobody was on that miasma. He predicted kind of the dash backward from Wunder, which made it Wunder unable to flash there. So really good one-for-one trade right there.
Now the ult going in, they're looking to lock it up. Oh, nice cancel coming in from Nuclear. Are just gonna pull back. Good synergy coming in, but Chei may give his life. TP coming in, maybe hoping to block out the final shot. Will he complete the channel? Chei sacrificing his life, but Odoamne maybe here to pick up the pieces. The TP coming in. Now they're just looking to trade back and forth. Kobbe is living. Bloodbath beginning. Odoamne locked up. That should be another kill, but was he gonna get one? Mikyx having to flash to safety.
So that's the problem with his lane. It sounds nice, right? You stop the Malzahar from his casting his ulti with arrow, you devour one guy, but then there's Jhin ulti and so many voidlings on the back end. So Nuclear and Chei essentially overplayed their position. They can do exactly that if they're in a defensive mindset. But if you ever get into an aggressive position versus a Malzahar, what's going to happen is he's going to spawn his first two voidlings, and they're immediately going to multiply. And then they're immediately going to multiply again, so you have 6 voidlings. If you run away from them, they can never stack up to 6, which means you will be safe. The problem is if you go aggro on a Malzahar, we see it again here, you can never go for this engage. Because you just walk up too close, he gets double up on the voidlings, and then there's just too much damage. All Nuclear or Kobbe has to do here is slow, and the best solution here is just to sacrifice support.
Works out in the end. They have to burn a ton of summoner spells here, though. A single overstep from the Tahm Kench. I mean, you said it yourself. You want to kill a pro player, WWER, whatever you got to push. Just kind of mash it all. Just
press your buttons. Don't cancel your ultimate. That's the only thing you can do. And this is a good moment for Splyce because they alleviate some pressure from the top lane. They punish Odoamne for teleporting, and Wunder can maybe get back into the game.
Yeah, Jankos now moving into the mid lane, though, maybe hoping to build a greater advantage. Bot lane coming in for H2K. They want absolute control here. Miasma to stop the advance.
Oh, that's another really good use of globals here. H2K did this in game 1 as well. Mikyx was praising it on the desk. Nuclear and Chei are very aware of when they need to leave their lane and assist in mid. They do exactly that. They thwart the counter gank from Wunder here. He could have went in with the kled ultimate. Combined with the gank flank from Trashy, this was Splyce's way back into the game. H2K stopped it with a well-timed voyage.
Very good use of the Tahm Kench ultimate. We're seeing this pick in a meta full of range support. Still retain his power.
That's bold.
Could have just gotten engaged on there. Of course, Nethergrass is up and available. Odoamne now going to try to fight it up. Here comes the charge from kled, but he's too far away. Odo making that safety flash over. Bear trap on a rope should condemn him to death. Are they going to turn it into a riptail? Because Odoamne is just going to get cut down.
Yeah, and this goes back to the bottom lane. Support overstepping, forcing top laner to teleport. Odoamne, no summoners in the top lane. He gets hunted down by Trashy and Wunder, and Splyce clawing their way back into the game.
Jankos, of course, though, with the empowered Q, takes his time on the dragon on the bottom side. The Cloud is going to be a bit of a bonus prize there. They move forward in the game, but they have to be careful. Kled can be a powerhouse if they move forward, and 0-3-2 is not the scoreline we expected from Odoamne.
Baby looking strong though here. Look at the CS deficit. Gets a stun onto Daisy, which is the stronger part of ivern. That's something at least.
It's like 2 champions. One of them is very good, that one.
Yeah.
The other one is It's kind of like Bard.
That doesn't feel right. I feel that may have been a bug. I think Daisy should have died there. Let's move on. But yeah, Febiven is doing really well in this Katarin matchup because the Miasma can counter her kind of rapid bouncing around, and there's rapid DPS. But if you mess up once, if you miscast the W from Cassiopeia, there's nothing preventing Sencux from all winning. So Febiven is playing really well. He's reacting to pressure on the side lanes too. Leaving his lane when he has to. Much better performance than day one.
Yeah, and you can see a very sizable gold lead for him in the mid lane as well. About 1K up in his favor. That's farm, that's kills. No global objectives taken yet by either side, so the game hasn't broken open. The laning phase continues to extend. Look across the lanes, everything coming up pretty well for H2K.
Yeah, but H2K has been playing very well with control wards. There's always been at least 2 or 3 on the map. Look at them. Top lane has a control ward. There's double control ward around mid, allowing Febiven to really push the advantage home. And then they defend the wards as well. It's really well played by H2K.
It's not just on the map, it's in the inventories as well. You can see Jankos placing one, another one in the back pocket of Febiven, as well as Chei. The team very aware to how vision control is important, but Jankos not quite aware where he needs to be. Will just get eaten up though.
Yeah.
Our favorite note button.
That's big. I think that's a big punish. Losing that cooldown essentially renders Malzahar useless as a pick.
But he has a silence, Krepo.
That's later on in the team fights.
Yeah, definitely not what they wanted whatsoever. They retain control over the jungle for a little bit longer, but without the ult, their claws are kind of taken away from them.
But you can definitely see how the snowball stopped in the top lane, though. So that is what Splyce were looking for, a bit of a reprieve. And the game slows down.
You see the Tiamat coming out as well, allowing the kled to keep up with the Rumble in terms of the push pressure. Now moving out of the lane, trying to get a little aggressive trading here. Nice slow coming in from the harpoons. Bear trap on a rope. Best ability name in the game, by the way. Fantastic. Please let's name more things ridiculously.
Gets even better in German.
I'm so afraid to try to pronounce that.
Move away from that one. Mikyx and Kobbe moving to the mid lane, looking for a pick here. Opening with the ultimate, a little questionable.
Maybe trying to get the Devour out early, but
they're looking to make a pick, but they didn't know, or they weren't tracking Tahm Kench, is essentially what happened there. But Malzahar doesn't even have ulti, so this is poor communication. This is kind of seemingly random plays by Splyce. They're moving into 1-3-1 formation. It is mid-game. Katarin can go on the side lane. She can punish AD carries that are straggling on the side lanes very hard. So this will force Febiven to play on the side lane. I like this movement, but I'm not quite convinced of what they were doing with that Jhin ultimate. It speaks of communication issues as well within the Splyce team right now.
it has to be a big question. Of course, this is a team that we saw perform so well during the regular season, defy expectations to come in second overall. They went to Worlds, they struggled a bit, and we're still wondering, they struggled a lot. We're wondering, you know, what is the final form of Splyce? They've kept this roster. What is the ceiling here? Because we're really not seeing it.
Yeah, that's the question, honestly, for this season. It's too early to judge, but there is a question on a lot of pundits' minds whether Splyce has already hit their ceiling. Can they still improve in a rapidly evolving kind of metagame of League of Legends? They were really good in summer, but have they surpassed their prime? Because on paper, they should be beating this H2K squad, but H2K is playing a really solid game.
Absolutely. Now, of course, it's not quite as disastrous as the last game. Odoamne has been shut down. Jankos is still out of control, but overall, things aren't quite as weighted against Splyce as they were in the previous matchup.
Yeah, liking some of the builds as well here. The earlier Abyssal from Febiven working against, obviously, that gang combination from Trashy and Sencux. Trashy playing the utilities on the ivern, going as far as an early sidestone into Redemption. He's basically a second support. You can do that, especially when your support can't build Redemption himself, because Malzahar core build is CDR boots into sidestone, and then you basically build the components of either Liandry's or Rylai's, and you can pivot at any point. Because if you build Ruby, Amtome, Blasting Wand, you can still go into either Liandry's or into Rylai's Crystal Scepter, so you can pivot whenever you want. If you snowball, you can go for early Magic Pen, but I think it might just be a Rylai's Rusher for Mikyx, because he's not really snowballing, and he wants to slow in teamfights.
Yeah, happy to have the additional CC, especially for Wunder, to keep him in melee range on the kled, as well as to keep Daisy nice and close and comfortable on the front lines of those team fights.
Yeah, that's what they're looking for. Deathball squad, allowing Sencux to then jump in and get one finisher off. So the outplay that we're looking for is from Chei, honestly, with a solid Devour, saving that reset from happening. And
it's so terrifying because very rarely do we see a champion that is so oppressive in the late game as you move forward, especially in this meta. But I mean, Katarin is one of those champions. You can't afford to make single mistakes against them.
But we saw as well over in North America that she can get shut down really easy.
Oh, Jankos looking to shut him down. In comes the Redemption. Jankos to get a little more. The heal comes in. Jankos in trouble. Nice footwork to make it out. Trashy gonna block it, but Jankos still gets the kill. I don't even know what hit him. Trashy taken down as well. Disaster strikes for Splyce.
Yeah, lingering damage from Jankos there over time. That was really close. Really solid Redemption hit there from Trashy, and this hits Sencux. Look at him, player cap. Oh, W1D3 right now, really suffering in this game. That's a really good reaction from H2K.
He has to be frustrating. Forced to pick up the Axe Drinker in the early game to mitigate the early damage. Wants to get to the Gunblade as fast as possible, but it's 17 minutes and he's just got bits and pieces of every item he needs.
And you can tell that this is a type of composition that's worked for Splyce in scrims. It makes so much sense. You have Wunder snowballing top lane, then he starts roaming into mid lane with his kled ultimate. Katarin gets 1 or 2 kills, she starts roaming this Malzahar Jhin lane. When you play scrims, you play a little bit more loose. You know, you go for the flash ultis, you go for the aggro, you don't really respect jungle too much. But they fell behind, mostly to this guy right here, Jankos. He shut down the pace of the early game for Splyce. And then Sencux
Heal for him.
Kill them.
The red buff tick. It looks like he has a bunch of health, I think, because of the Hex Drinker.
Yeah.
But he didn't have that much health. Just a shield against magic damage, but no shields for the true damage there.
He dies, and then it's all falling down like a house of cards here. All these codependencies for Splyce no longer happen, and they're locked into just defensive posture.
And of course, yesterday when we saw the ivern in the hands of the Unicorns of Love, it was all about facilitating another pick, but this time around, it doesn't feel quite as picked with a purpose here.
I mean, they're running a pick comp with Jhin and with ivern and with the kled ultimate. They basically want to find kind of lone stragglers on H2K and just one-shot them.
TP's coming in. Splyce maybe looking to set up the fight. Nuclear just going to get devoured, though.
Watch out, Chei is always out of sight.
Oh, Mikyx too important. Trashy on the front line. Kobbe now in trouble. This is disaster once again for Splyce. They made a desperate move. Now Wunder from the backside. Nuclear moving forward, but it's just not enough. Splyce, they're going in one at a time. H2K is picking them apart. Sencux wants to make the hero play. Can he get the reset? Flash out. Double kill for H2K.
Yeah, really poised movement there from Nuclear. This is the Abyssal Push. Mikyx looking to go down.
Trying to save him. Kobbe's on the back line as well. Just wants to remount. Not even going to get it in time. Febiven cuts through the kled.
Yeah, really well played by H2K. Nuclear is calm, flashes out of Katarin, returns the damage. They kill Sencux. He is 0-4-0, doing absolutely nothing in this game. Major props to Chei, hiding around the corner. He was basically baiting the Malzahar ulti, stepping forward the second Mikyx flashes, and then casting Devour. And at that point, the card house started falling down again for Splyce.
And it was a slower start this time around. It felt much more evenly paced. We wanted to see more from Splyce in the early game. They balanced out Odoamne on the top side, but once again, H2K, they punished the mistakes of Splyce time and time again. It's clinical at this stage. There's, I mean, just so little room for Splyce now to come back.
Yeah, so Mikyx looking for the play. Chei walks in, is like, yonk, I'll get you out. Mikyx stuck in turret aggro. He goes down. Suddenly Trashy eats an arrow. Kobbe is in turret range for some reason. Sencux, he wants to go in, but he knows he can't. He can't one-shot Jankos. Then Wunder comes in, and it's not time with the team anymore, because once you start casting the Kled's ultimate, there's no way of stopping it. And then this flash from Nuclear is the one thing that prevents the reset. And at that point, it's cleanup.
Yeah, Wunder not even going to get the remount. It's all too easy for the Tahm Kench to follow through on the fight.
One thing we learned from H2K today is that they really like playing high damage compositions. Not a single tank in between jungle and top in both these games.
See the frustration on Sencux's face, because all it takes is one reset. All it takes is for kled to come in maybe a second sooner for him to have the freedom to jump into that fight. Eyes off him for just a second since he can get the damage out.
He's playing Katarin from behind against double exhausts versus a jungle that can go invisible and prevent you from getting more resets.
So hard to deal with. Still putting out insane damage, but if you're not getting the kills, if you're not winning the fights, it does not matter. This could once again turn against them. Mikyx path is going to be popped. Jankos running into the air. He doesn't have enough damage to take him down, but the fight is now on the top side of the map. Mikyx going to go down in the end. Trashy potentially next. Jankos can get resets too. Stealth up, leap in, going to try to grab another one. Trashy potentially going to go down, but in the meantime, the fight on the bottom side moving in the favor of H2K. Kobbe, the last man standing. Sencux alive as well, and it's not enough. The Katarin is going to have to run.
Yeah, I picked up 1 kill right there. Chei is still alive. As Tahm Kench versus Katarin, you gotta live long enough to prevent the reset. You become the reset. So that's exactly what Chei wants to avoid.
Warding up.
He's pretty fed.
Yeah, staying safe overall.
And you know, he knows exactly what his role is. Look at his build right here. Don't look at his build right here.
Look at the fight!
Look at the fight. Open up on Trashy. It's good to engage on utility junglers to start the fight. Chei goes in for the peel. Redemption is used, like defensively. This guy survives. I really love what Chei is doing in this game. They're dragging them forward. Jankos finishes off the enemy support. He's very low. Then the resets don't happen. He goes in a little bit far, but he enables Febiven. All the cooldowns get soaked up by Jankos. Sencux picks up 1 kill. It's just not enough. Pretty calm and collected fight from H2K. Yes, maybe Jankos can go in a little later, but I like that they're playing in unison pretty much. Always really good target selection. And the point right now for the build is that he's going Ruby Sidestone into QSS on Chei. He has only one job, which is remove the CC that's on him so he can get to the target that he has to, and then devour them and survive. Once that's done, he's allowed to die.
Activatable item cooldowns coming in, potentially a locket coming in next just for a bit of extra shielding just to present the resets even further. But
because he's the only tank on their team, so when kled casts his ultimate, he wants to walk in front, take it, but then he's gonna eat a bunch of CC in Jhin snare, maybe Malzahar ulti himself, maybe the snare from Trashy. So he's gonna say, I'm gonna get out of this with QSS. Malzahar can never ulti me because I'll survive. And then if you're Mikyx, you're looking at a Tahm Kench that can always devour anything. It's similar to AShe. You can't CC the Tahm Kench because he has QSS. You can't CC his teammates because he's Devour.
I'm unhappy because I eat.
Well, that's a different one. But I know that one as well.
Moving in, Jankos caught out here briefly. Curtain call coming in. Not going to be enough. Devour stops everything.
He hops into the belly.
Perfectly saved. It feels so frustrating for Splyce. Maybe they didn't expect the Tahm Kench to come in here, but I feel like the majority of their comp is shut down by this pick.
Their second ban rotation could have been TKMF, and then they would have been fine. This is a pure staple meta pick. I think they just undervalued the weight that Tahm Kench brings to a composition.
Chei now stepping forward, knows that those major cooldowns are off. Equalizer goes down, Mikyx in trouble, he's going to get popped. Katarin goes over the wall. Daisy comes out to look for the disengage, but getting burned down just as quickly. Actually going to swag walk his way out of there, but not going to get anything in exchange. H2K picking up a pick.
2 games in a row now is H2K very grouped, condensed in the mid game, mid to late game, after getting an advantage early, off the back of their bot lane playing passive, and Jankos snowballing the top side of the map. It was mid in this game, but it was again early pressure around Odoamne, so we're seeing a bit of a trend from H2K. It's early to highlight, and they're looking to take the Baron buff right now.
Going ever lower, looking for the CC to stop it. At the end of the day, they are going to get the Baron buff. In goes the Tahm Kench. He's bringing the Cassio into the back lines. Wunder has to respect it. Moving in, moving back, moving forward onto Febiven. The exhaust comes out. Good damage. Ult comes in from kled. Febiven in trouble. Dismounts. Now he's going to die. Febiven running forward, but the low health bar is still there. Flash forward. Nuclear going in, going off as he tries to find more kills. Shutdown going in as well, but it is not enough. Kills picked up from H2K across the board.
Chei walking back and forth like, who do I save? Turns out no one. My team's winning anyways. He actually accidentally ate Jankos while Jankos was going for the kill on Sencux. It allowed Sencux to survive longer, but it's still a super easy ace here for Splyce because they killed Mikyx early, I think, and he's now back again. It's so hard for Splyce to fight back at this point. Their composition has been broken down, decomposed, and H2K is enjoying what's going to be a clean 2-0.
And we had a big question about Febiven in this matchup. We said you give him the Cassio, the priority is on him to make these plays happen, to stop the Katarin, and that's exactly what he does.
Yeah, 0 hesitation on the Baron. 5 or 4 damage dealers in the composition will obviously murder Baron. They put in Cassio in the back. Chei looks back, he's okay, he's fighting against Wunder. I need to help Jankos to not get reset. Jankos is killing Katarin. Yoink! I'm gonna get this kill. No, turns out you can get it yourself. And then the fight is over.
Just donating it to his fellow Korean on the team. Nuclear happy to pick that one up. Moving in for more. And this is the form of H2K I think we were hoping to see in their first game. We didn't expect it with the new team. We didn't expect clean communication, confident calls, but we're seeing it here today.
Yeah, or it highlights that we were wrong about the teams that they played against. We thought H2K played, or I thought at least they played very poorly, and their opponents played even worse. So it kind of was a bad matchup, but right now H2K is playing super clean. Splyce touted as being the kind of best team here. Honestly, disappointing.
Yeah, expected to top Group B, but a 10K gold deficit is not a good look for a top team. Chei moving down. Sencux dodges out on the arrow, but the pressure's on the bottom side, and you do not want to approach that tower with that miasma waiting to cut off any hope of escape. Oh, 1v1 on the top side, Odo. Didn't have enough, but now they're ganking on the bottom. Exhaust goes on to Jankos. Tahm Kench coming in. Slow goes down from the Petrifying Gaze. Daisy comes in, but she's just running for his life as well. Knows the fight is already doomed. H2K in absolute control. Odo having fun in his 1v1 on the top side, but the tower's going to drop. Inhibitor will be next to follow. And Splyce really out of options this time around once again.
Yeah, super clean 4-1 here. Odoamne keeping Wunder busy. He finally drops down right before mounting again. Sencux looking for a jump here. Chei always ready to devour. Final ultimate stacks come out from the Jhin. Kobbe looking for more bullets.
Not enough bullets in the gun, unfortunately, to take down the side of H2K. Chei moving forward, TP coming in, Wunder is dead for another 28 seconds. This could very well be the game, but Jankos is caught briefly. Malzahar's going in, Jankos now set to fall. No, Chei says no, time and time again.
Ooh, Sencux was very close to getting multiple resets right there, so this was the only potential point of failure, but they can't grasp the opportunity, and H2K looking to clean it up.
Absolutely have to praise H2K as they move into their second game win, their fourth game win of the week, their second series win. H2K off to a clean and confident start as Chei takes the glory in the last seconds.
H2-1, H2-0 right now for H2K. This has to feel good for them. Really good opening week, all in all.
Absolutely. I mean, impressive play across the board for the team. Nuclear and Chei slotting